Hi everybody, this is Mary. Welcome back. Today I'm going to do my version of a debt confession. It's more like where I was 7 years ago compared to where I am now. I will start out with saying that my husband and I never really liked credit cards. After probably 1985, we got rid of all of our credit cards. And they were all mine because I grew up with you have to have credit so you can get a house, so you can get a car, you can get this, you can get that. Fine with that at that point. So our motto was if we couldn't afford to pay for it with cash, then we don't get, yeah, if we can't afford to buy with cash, then we wait. Or we didn't need it right then and there. So we did really well with that for many years. We rented most of the time. When we got into New York, we had a very wonderful family that it was coming to winter time and we were trying to live in our travel trailer. And this was, New York, snow, cold, whatever. Our truck broke down. We lived outside town. We found a place inside town that we moved to that was very reasonably priced. Skip ahead, we ended up having a house fire. Everybody was safe, kids were at school. I had just gotten to work. My husband called me and said I needed to come home. The house was on fire. I was like, oh, okay. And I worked over an hour and 15 minutes away. So, trying to hurry up and get home. So we lived in a mobile home. I have 4 kids. So there was the 4 kids, 2-bedroom mobile home, my husband and I, 2 dogs and a cat. It was great. Oh my gosh. So my 3 girls got the master bedroom with the master bath. My son got the smaller room, and my husband and I had the living room. That was our domain. And that's where we came all together as well. So, looked for a house. And this is where our trouble started. So, we were going to have a manufactured home constructed. We found some land. We split off that land because we went through USDA, which is a housing. They do housing on this particular USDA, had nothing to do with food. Anyway, so they extended the loan to us. In hindsight, I should have never gone through with it. I had no business getting a house that expensive. Freaked me out when I went to sign the papers because I was like, hey, how much is my payment going to be? Well, because they help first-time buyers, they're like, well, you'll get a subsidy. So it kind of depends on what your living situation is at the time, how many kids you have in the household, blah, blah, blah. You won't have to pay the full amount of the monthly payment because that'll be pushed to the back end. I kind of believed him, and I was in the mortgage business, and I should have pressed. So, my first mortgage with taxes insurance, well, okay, so the first mortgage amount was $149,000. With the taxes and insurance included, monthly was $1,500. Now here's a person who has no car loan, no credit cards, nothing of that. I don't want loans, but I needed a house. So I went from $300 a month to $1,500 a month. Now my work at the time, I was making, let me see, at the time of the house, I was probably making at the time $45,000. So, could I afford this? Yes. Do I have a lot of money left over? No, because here what happened. So I told you we split that mortgage, I mean the land up. So 2 acres the house sat on. The other 20 acres was $30,000. And we had $185 a month on that one. Okay, 185 was reasonable. We paid on that for a little while before the house was done being built. Then our taxes went up. Now, although there was taxes in here, we had to pay taxes on the land, on the separate land. So our taxes went from like $1,200 a year. It jumped to $5,000 a year. We were in the poorest county in New York with the highest tax rate. How does that happen? I have not a clue. But roughly, if I were to calculate it out, it would have been about $416 a month. But you pay twice a year. Well, we had county, state, town, and we were living outside the village, so we no longer had village. So we had 3 taxes, 3 types of taxes we were paying. Anyway, to continue, I ended up having to get a car loan for about $4,500. I didn't want a car loan. But because of the mileage I was driving, my cars didn't last long. And I always buy used cars. Because of that reason, I was putting 30,000 miles a year on my car just to get back and forth to work. That doesn't count driving the kids around, going to the store and a couple towns over, whatever. Didn't count any of that, just the mileage to and from work. So, all right, so we're moving ahead. Now I'm making $50,000 a year. So, oddly enough, I knew that I was going to get laid off of my job soon. They did it like every year. I was an administrative assistant for people in New York City, as well as in Buffalo, New York, which is where we were, and Delaware. I think that was it. Oh, so, after 9/11, some went from New York City to Jersey City. So I was an admin assistant for 4 different locations. I supported probably between 350 and 400 people. But they hired another girl in Jersey City. And I knew that my days were numbered. But I didn't know when. It normally happened in the fall. I know it's weird that they have this thing that they do every fall. It's weird. But this car was kind of on its last leg. I still probably had about $2,000 left to pay on it. And I was paying $150 a month. So then we're like, okay, well, let's get a truck. I was trying to hold off because I felt like that time was near. Like I knew I was going to be out of a job. But we got a truck for roughly $15,000. I can't remember the exact amount now, but I think it was about $15,000, and we're paying $350 a month. And both my husband and the guy at the car dealership was crazy when I told them, I don't want a $350 payment. I want to get it down to $200. And I said, you're out of your mind. This is a great deal. It was a very nice truck for being used. But even if it was brand new, it was a very nice truck. So I said, okay, fine. My husband crunched the numbers. He says, we can do this. And I said, okay. Wouldn't you know it, a week later I got laid off. So I went from $50,000 to $0. I had no income. My husband has ailments that he's not able to work, so we had no income. Now, thankfully, with the company I was working at, I got a severance pay, And because I had been there, let's see, I had been there like 12 years. So for every year you get a paycheck, and our paychecks were twice a month, every other week. So I got like, it equated to about 2.5 months of severance. Technically, I was still on the books, so I didn't get that severance paid out fully. I got paid every 2 weeks. So that kind of helped us get along. So we were able to pay our bills. We were doing really well. At the end of the 2.5, I got my final severance. And then I also got I cashed out my 401k. Now, in that 401k, I never put a dime into it. But the company, regardless if I put any money in there or not, they put money into it. So it was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. It was probably 12,000, I think. Okay, so all of this came to $203,500. I was paying $2,601 in just this. Now, that doesn't account for car insurance. At the time, it was $65 a month because we were older, and we had used cars. Well, we had a loan. Actually, maybe it was higher because we have the truck loan. Regardless, we'll go with that. Our cell phone, at the time we were paying a higher cell phone. This was with Ford 2. Our electric up there was like $300. Internet, I think we were paying, because back then things were just a little bit cheaper when it came to internet, but I think we were paying about $80 a month then. And then streaming services was like $20. So just for this section alone, that's an additional $550. So total, I had an outlay of $3,156, give or take. To me, that is just the lifestyle I had led before getting this house. I was stressing. I was not used to that kind of payout, but I was seriously stressing on this. So what happened? I found a job closer to home, but I lost over half my income. So if you lose, I was making, I think, $24,000 at the new job. I didn't want to drive into the city anymore. I didn't want to drive 60 miles one way in the snow. It sounds funny, like, here's our parents saying, I had to walk to school uphill both ways, and but no, truly, I drove in whiteout conditions. Very stressful for me and for my husband, because most of the time we didn't have a cell phone. In the early years, before cell phones became really big, we didn't have a cell phone, so he didn't know how I was doing. He didn't know where I was. And as soon as cell phones started coming out, we got one. We had a landline in the house, and then I used the cell phone. So I was able to call him. And a lot of times I did pull over and call him and say, okay, I'm halfway home. Because as soon as I got off the freeway, there was a gas station. Sometimes if it was really bad, I would stop there, gather my nerves, and then drive the rest of the way home. So, supposedly closer to home. What happened? Well, I couldn't make our house payment anymore. I tried to work with them and get it down as low as I could get it, and the woman told me, she says, honestly, there's nothing we can do. She says, Mary, I wish I could help you out. Very nice woman. She even gave me advice that she's not allowed to give. But she says, even if you go to one of their classes, some sort of class to help people, because my taxes were so high and my insurance was so high, my mortgage payment itself, my principal and interest, they could have worked with that, but because my taxes and insurance were so high, the payment wasn't going to go down. It wasn't going to go down enough. She says, Mary, you should think about filing bankruptcy. And that was like taboo. You don't do that. No, you can't do bankruptcy. But that puts bad, points on you, and your credit's going to be horrible. Well, my credit was horrible at this point anyway. So what did I have to lose? So my husband and I took a little bit, but we thought about it. The land we kept paying because we were thinking, okay, well, it's separate from the house, so we'll just try to build something on the back, in the back property. So we kept this. We only paid the taxes on the second land, the 20 acres. Kept my car because it was the lower payment, but we returned the truck. We voluntarily returned the truck. We didn't want to have that repo. So what they did is they took the truck, they sold it for what they could, and I owed the balance, which was, I think, around $2,500 or $2,700. So, so at that point we had land, car payment, and then I had to pay this $2,500 back. Oh yeah, and just the taxes on the land. And I'm going to say probably yearly it was that, if not more. And I still had our monthly. Now I thought if I filed bankruptcy, I would be out of the house in months. Just so happens they had the crash, the housing crash. Well, it takes a while for bankruptcy to get through. We did talk to a lawyer. I told him I'm not keeping the house. Depends on the kind of bankruptcy. You can keep your house or not. I said, I don't want the house. I put this $2,500 in that. I even put my car in there. My car was down to about $2,000, give or take. And there was a couple of miscellaneous things that they said you may as well just throw those in too because it's part of it. So put anything and everything at this point, because I think you had to have a minimum of $10,000. Otherwise, you could not file bankruptcy. But because of the house, I was fine. So I filed bankruptcy. Took a lot of stress off. And I started making payments on that. That payment was, I think, $180. I think it was $180. And I paid that to the trustee. Of course, their fees come first. I pay them off first. And then after that, the money goes towards this. And they held everything. So I said, okay. Do you know I was in that house for 3 years? Before we got the notice that it was going to go up for auction. 3 years. I never thought, I got, like, within the first month of filing bankruptcy, I got rid of my furniture. I got rid of anything that I could because I figured get rid of it all and then I don't have to worry about it. I was in that house for 3 more years. So we decided to leave New York. All the kids had graduated school. They're all adults now, out of school for a couple years. It was just too much. We had, we're getting older. Kids moved out of the house. I didn't have anybody to help shovel the snow anymore and all that kind of stuff. So we're like, you know what, let's move south. I said, fine, let's go for it. Once we left New York, I am telling you, things got better. I could not tell you even, oh my gosh, so much better. We had freedom again. I was able to save. I actually have a savings account now. I never had one when we were in New York. Never. So if we had no money, that meant I really had zip. But I always said, as long as I have family, I'm fine. You know? If you have people around you, you find funny moments. You find things that make you happy. So I was fine, stressed, but fine. Because truly, God was on our side. So we leave. We, by choice, we traveled around in our van for about 2 months, because the job I left, again, there was a 401k. I think I was there for like a year, year and a half. So I had some money coming from them, plus the kind of work I made bonuses. So I also had that bonus money. So we were able to travel around for a little bit. We wanted to find where we wanted to live. So we had a couple of things planned out, and so we went to those places. We ended up, after we drove across country and back across country, we ended up in South Carolina for a little while, Myrtle Beach area. And I got a job at Walmart. We were still living in our van, and things started looking up for us. I contacted the trustee, and I said, hey, just out of curiosity, how much do I have to pay? And they said, well, we're going to have to send you a letter. And I said, okay, I just want to know my balance. Got a letter probably 2 weeks later, and I was freaking because they said, oh, well, thank you for asking for your payoff. And I'm like, no, I don't have the money to pay the payoff. But no, they were just giving me a balance. And in that letter, they said because I was asking for a payoff, there was something about this car loan that there was a, what was it called? You know, when people all come together, there was some sort of a court thing with the bank. I don't know, I never understood what it was. But because I fell into that category, I didn't have to pay back $2,000 of it. In fact, the trustee was paid for at this point, and the bank owed me money. Who does that? I got like a $1,700 check because, one, I asked what my balance was, and that prompted them to look into things more. They found an issue with the bank. Somebody had sued them or something. I fell into that. So when I tell you God is good, wonderful. Just saying. Anyway, moving on. We did not like South Carolina. It was too hot for us. So we found where we currently are now. I rent currently. My portion, because I share the bills, is $250. I went from $1,500 to $250 a month. We are purchasing some land. My portion is $185, which kind of took the place of this one. Fine. Love it, because we no longer have this land. It was a lease option, and so we said, when we left New York, we just said we can't do it anymore. So he got quite a bit of money from us, from the payments, for about probably 3-4 years, maybe even 5. And he had the land he could sell again, so it was fine. Our yearly taxes here, so that's between the land, property taxes here you pay once a year, and it is car, anything you own. And that portion of it is about it's about $50. The other 100 is for something else that we have. All right, then, so that now, because of the land we have, that's $30,150. And I think that loan amount is lower, but we'll round. So just with those, $435 compared to $2,600. Are you loving it? Because I am. Car insurance now, we have 2 vehicles, both used, is $107 for us both. Cell phone card, for 2 cell phone cards, because now I can go down to a lower amount because we have internet at the house. It's a prepaid phone. We have 2, straight talk. So $35 each. I don't need a lot of data. I don't use a lot of data. Now, if we were to travel around again, I'd get a higher amount so I could have more data and more hotspot data too. Okay, electric, my portion is $100. Let me tell you about my electric. When we came here, they have a buy here, or no, a pay as you go option. Sign me up. I want to know how much I have at any given time. I don't want a surprise bill anymore. I was done with that. I was done with having who knows how much up north with $300. Wintertime, it could be more. So my portion is $100. The other person's portion is $100. So we put $200 a month on this account. When it comes to slow season here, because I'm a server and we have it, January, February, March, very slow for us. This past year, in December, we had so much money on our account that I did not have to pay electric for 4 months because we had like $600 saved up in this account. So December, January, February, March, and most of April before I had, I think in March I decided to go ahead and start paying on it again. We got down to around $100. So if you have this option where you live, I had never heard of this, look into it. I can go on my phone at any time, pull it up and see how much money I have. And it'll tell you based on your usage, how many days you can go. So I'm already back up to probably 400 right now. Okay. This is going to be a long one. Sorry, guys. We call it iNet. It's internet. Sometimes we just condense things. My portion's $65. Medical, I have this bill, hopefully only until the end of the year. I'm paying $100. And then we have a storage, my portion is $60. Streaming, I have one, it's $15. Now, you'll notice there's no car payment, no credit cards. Our cars we buy outright. With all the money we're saving, we'll save up, buy a car for like $2,000-$3,000. Most likely it's going to need some work, so we get that fixed. And then I've got a car. I've had my current van, it's a 97. I've had that now for 7 years? Yeah, 7 years. Just take care of your cars, they'll last forever. If you're tight on budget, you don't need a brand new car. Because the thing is, if you have a loan on your car, you have to have full coverage on your insurance. So why? Keep that second-hand car till you save up enough money to get yourself a decent car. I don't know. That's because I get too freaked out about high monthly payments. Okay. So just this portion alone is $517. So guys, my monthly outlay is $952 compared to $3,000. And I'm saving $2,200 a month. Just by downsizing, getting rid of credit cards, getting rid of car loans. I mean, this is the only loan that I have. And I'm okay with that because it's a lease option, again. So it's not through a bank. I think people are a little more inclined to work with you if you need to. So far, I have not had that problem. We're doing okay. And I'm doing this on my server pay. One income still, just one. So all I'm saying is really look hard. What do you actually need to have? I highly suggest, once you pay off a credit card, cut it up. You're paying the interest that you don't need to pay. They're a headache. In my opinion, they can ruin your credit. Not that I worry about credit. I don't worry about credit anymore because I don't want a loan. So some of you may not agree with this, and that's fine. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm telling you what's good for me, for my sanity. Because if I lose my job again, I don't want to have that stress of all those payments that I have to make. You know, if I lose my job, I'm like, all right, well, I have very minimum. And now my husband, ever since we got together, he says, he always wanted to have like a travel trailer or a camper or something, because if something happens, we always have a home to live in. Same with our vans. I have fixed them up before. When we traveled around, I can fix them up again, which is, I think, what I want to do. It needs to be a complete overhaul inside. I don't have any seats in it, but anyway. So we can live in our vans again. We have a roof over our head. Where we park, it's a different story. I'll grant you that. But I have somewhere that I am not out in the elements. You know what I'm saying? So really do a deep dive into your expenses and really think, what do you really need? Not what we want, but what do you need and what can you get by with? So that's my then and now version of my debt confession. I hoped you liked it. I don't know. I'll just say I hoped you like it. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, if you want to make comments, fine, go ahead. I just want to share what happened to me 7 years ago versus where I'm at now. And I have to say, I am so much more stress-free right now than where I was before. That's all I'm saying. So thank you, everybody. Take care. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you in the next one, okay? Bye.